Is 2021 the comeback year for MLB? Today on The Bunker, we'll discuss all things MLB and the upcoming season with Jorge Martín from Familia FFB. Stay tuned. We're going to have a quick conversation about the power of our Dodgers. We call them our Dodgers, obviously, and what's happening in the rest of the league, who we should fear, who everyone should look out for, and any and everything that is going to drive baseball moving forward in 2021. Enjoy. Emotion plays a huge, just in life, if you're a younger person, you know the old thing, if you're not young and emotional, you have no heart. If you're not older and, wiser, you have no brain type of thing. And it's good. I think the infusion of these young guys like Tatis and who's our young cat with the Dodgers right now? Now, who would you say would be the youngest gun? Is Bellinger still it? He's only like 24, right?
Yeah, he's like 24, 25. I mean, Seager's an old man at 27.
Right.
Mookie Betts is in his late 20s, 28 or 29.
Still in his 20s.
I think the young gun is probably Walker Buehler.
Wow.
He's still only 24. Dustin May, who throws just as hard, maybe a little bit harder, he's 23. So one guy to keep an eye on, Gavin Lux. He was one of the top minor leaguers coming into last season. So he's going to be up, and he's going to be ready to, he really hit during spring training. And I think he's going to take that leap this year. So it's great. And we also could talk about the guy who got the last 3 outs of the World Series, Julio Urias. He's only in his early 20s too. So, it
seems like he's been around for a while,
He has, because he got called up when he was 19 years old. And so it's just I think he's, because it was 2013, he was 16 years old making his minor league debut. So at 16 years old, and he came, and now, so 8 years later, he turns 24 this year. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. At 24 years old, and he's already gotten the last out of the World Series. How cool is that? He's a hero forever.
You don't want to joke and say it's all downhill from here for the guy, but I look at it, we could have a plane of excellence for a little while with the Dodgers. And this episode may seem a little bit like we're being Dodger homers, and we are, rightfully so. But there's something magical going on in LA here. We've chased the Yankees for decades, since they used to smack us back in the 70s and 80s. But right now is a great time to be an LA sports fan. As I mentioned at the top of this, it's the 30th. We have UCLA and SC playing in the Elite Eight today in basketball. The Lakers, even though there are some injuries, once those injuries are taken care of over the next couple of months, when the real important time of the NBA comes to bear, we know that the Lakers are going to be in the hunt. The Clippers are going to be in the hunt. So UCLA, SC basketball, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Dodgers are the prohibitive favorite across all of MLB this coming year. And the Rams made some moves, which ties us in to the Dodgers as well, because I actually think Stafford with the Rams this year is going to be special. He's coming to hang out with his buddy from high school. And so even though I think that's going to energize Kershaw quite a bit, he's the old guy on our team, but he could still go another 3 to 5 years at a high level, because he doesn't have to perform, I think, through the 162 because of all those young guys that you named that could carry the team. Just like LeBron has these young cats, he pushes them to do what they need to do the rest of the year. Kershaw can come through at the end of the year and really come through strong right around the time for the playoffs when his buddy Stafford is debuting for the Rams. I'm saying all these different storylines for the LA fans because it's going to be something special. I'm really excited. Isn't this going to be the first year that we're actually going to, or the second year that we're actually going to play in SoFi? We just played in SoFi this past year.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they didn't because there were no fans the entire time. This big, beautiful stadium that they would show us on TV when the Rams or the Chargers were playing,
Right.
and you just looked at it and you almost longingly. And so this year, knock on wood, hopefully they're able to allow fans in there and just everybody be able to check it out and just just see these superstar quarterbacks both on both teams just really tear it up. And I can't wait. But you want to talk about we want to talk about baseball today. I mean, that's that's a special. I mean, you talk about the Dodgers. There hasn't been a repeat champion in 20 years. So
20 years,
I know. So hopefully they're able to do that. I think they have the talent to do that. I mean, obviously they added Trevor Bauer with the you add the reigning National League Cy Young winner to a team that won the World Series and didn't. They lost some players, but they didn't lose major players. I mean, Kike Hernandez and Jock Peterson were very important to the fabric of the team, but they weren't the guys who carried the load. They weren't. It's not like losing a Mookie Betts or a Cody Bellinger or Corey Seager. Those guys are still here, and so you look at that. I mean, it's just it's an embarrassment of riches of talent. And I'll tell you what, I would love. You mentioned the Yankees. I'd love nothing more than see another Dodger Yankee World Series. And I know MLB would love that. MLB and Fox would love to see that too, to see the ratings go through the roof.
Listen, storylines and history matter when it comes. Well, history matters when it comes to storylines. Dodgers, Yankees, LA, New York. There's nothing bigger, especially in baseball. The two most storied baseball franchises. The Yankees, by far, the most storied baseball franchise. They've had our number this whole time. They have some heavy hitters, not just Judge. Let's talk about them a little bit. You have Judge. How's he doing? You have Stanton. How's he doing? Is he ready to roll? Who else do they have that can help carry the load? I know they had some guys that weren't necessarily big names last year, as big names as the two guys I named, but who's going to be carrying the load for them this year?
Well, first off, it very much is going to be carrying the Giancarlo Stanton, Giancarlo 818 from
another Valley boy, right? Notre Dame High School.
Notre Dame High School, and Aaron Judge, Fresno State. Those two guys are the ones. They're going to be the caballos. They're going to be the horses who are leading, pulling the cart. But Gleyber Torres, their shortstop, is an absolutely phenomenal, shortstop, second baseman, absolutely phenomenal player. Great hitter, great hitter. They got a center fielder, Aaron Hicks, who's a good all around player. Luke Voigt, he's got their first baseman. He's got a swing that's made for Yankee Stadium. It just hits a ton of home runs. So those guys, Gary Sanchez, who is a guy. Yeah, he's still considered a guy who's coming up, but he's got talent and he's got a lot of power. So those guys, and but to me, I think the one of the, if not the best pitcher, one of the two best pitchers in the American League, Garrett Cole, he's their ace. And if you got an ace, and with that lineup, you've got a chance. So he is that good. And so you got him. They've got some other pitchers coming up behind him that are also good. Jameson Taillon, who's one guy. Domingo Germán, who's had some off the field troubles, but it looks like he's back in the mix. Just a lot of talent, a lot of talent. And it's just, they just got to boil it down. And they still have Aroldis Chapman, who still throws as hard as anybody as their closer. So this team can hit. They've got good pitching. They've got an ace, and I think they're one of the scary teams in the American League.
I think they're one of the scary teams in all of baseball. And a lot of it has to do with what you mentioned at the very beginning. And that has to do with the insertion of fans, even though it's about 20% up front. I think that probably by the time we get to the All-Star game, we'll probably have a 50 to 70% capacity as far as fans are concerned. New York fans are nuts. They're absolutely insane. And I think they're hungry. And the guys you named for the Yankees are the type of guys that when they create the types of plays that they create, it's equivalent to a touchdown or an impressive dunk in basketball. Their fans are going to go crazy. So that extra thing you mentioned earlier about how we're going to be boosted by the fans, I think the Yankees are going to do the same as well. And let's stay on the American League for now. Now, the representative for American League last year were the Tampa Bay Rays. And before that, we had the powerhouse of the Houston Astros. And I'm curious to see. I personally liked the storylines, even though we won. Of course, I was pulling for the Dodgers. I liked the storylines with the Tampa Bay Rays last year. They had some young guys that were incredible. Where right after we won, I sat there, after you get over, like, yeah, we had a good time watching our team win. They had a couple young guys where I was like, these guys are going to be a problem next year. But thankfully, they're going to be the Yankees and the Astros problems first. So they can beat each other up before we get a chance to deal with them. What do you think about the Rays and returning potentially at the top of the AL, fighting against the Yankees? And number two, Houston, not only because of their talent, but also because of all the heaviness that they got to skip this past year with the scandals that really didn't hit them that hard. Do you think those scandals are going to be somewhat of an albatross around their neck this year coming up?
I'm going to answer that one first.
Okay.
They are going to hear it everywhere. Mm-hmm. Jose Altuve.
Even with 20% capacity, they'll hear it.
Even at 20% capacity. Whenever they're anywhere, they're going to hear it anywhere and everywhere. The only place they're not going to hear it is in Houston. So fans are not going to forget. The ones that are going to hear it the most are Altuve, Alex Bregman, and Carlos Correa. They're the ones that are going to hear it a ton. And you know what? They made their bed. And I'd love to. There's a part of me that would love to go to a game at Angels Stadium just to boo them. So
we should do that.
Yeah, the only thing that'd be tough is Dusty Baker's still one of my all-time. He's still one of my all-time guys, and so
he's a Dodger for life.
Yeah, he is a Dodger for life. Number 12 is one of my favorite numbers because of him. So that to me is the only thing that would be okay with them winning. But they're going to hear it a lot. The Tampa Bay Rays, Randy Arozarena just splashed as a rookie who came up at the end of the season like nobody I've ever seen before. And it was absolutely spectacular. And in the World Series, they couldn't get him out. They could not get him out. And it was, as a baseball fan, I was amazed. As a Dodger fan, I was like, please, somebody do something about this guy.
I fear that guy.
He's really good. The one thing about the Rays, and it's always interesting how they do it. They traded away arguably their best pitcher, Blake Snell, the Cy Young Award winner from a couple years back.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Him to the Padres. But the thing is, the thing that I've noticed with the Rays, and this even goes back to when Andrew Friedman was their general manager, they rarely get beat on a trade. So I don't know if maybe they get beat for this year, but they always get something that helps them. And they're always able to figure out a bullpen. They're always able to get just enough hitting from their team. So I think they're going to be a dangerous team. So I'm glad they're going to be fighting it out in the AL East, because the Dodgers are going to have their hands full with the Padres out here.
Yes. Well, we'll get to that in a second, because I actually think some of the injuries, I never wanted to be where my team wins as a result of the other team, because of the other team's injuries. I know that's part of the game. Professional sports, even baseball, even though it's not full contact like football or a contact sport in general like basketball, those guys are still pounding the heck out of their body, so negative things can happen. I want to see excellence on both sides. So I still want my team to win, but at the same time, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, I love everything you said about what's up with Houston, because they're going to feel, because being a Dodger fan, I still can look at Altuve and have a huge appreciation, at least before all of this. I loved watching that guy play, just like I love watching this young guy for the Tampa Bay Rays. I love watching Stanton, and I love watching Mike Judge when they just absolutely knock the crap out of the ball. That's exciting to me. I never want it at the expense of my team, but I just think the American League is going to be overall a lot more fun and interesting overall, because of those three main teams. Because I think Houston's still going to be tough, and I'm pulling for Dusty, like you said, and because of lifelong Dodger. Tampa, I think, is going to figure it out, even though they traded that pitcher. And I think the Yankees are the Yankees. They're the Yankees. They just somehow always figure something out. On the National League side, our Dodgers, I don't know what's happening with the Cubs in the central area. The Cubs, and, I'm not really concerned with the Mets, the Cubs, and honestly, our rival, the Giants this year. The Giants have spanked us for too long. So I don't feel sorry for them at all. The last 20 years, they've won what, 3 or 4?
3 World Series and a few division titles.
I hear too much from my friends from the Bay anyway, so I don't even want to. That's enough about the Giants. So we'll stay in Southern California for now. How are the Diamondbacks looking? How are we? Or is this something that we should fear? I know that San Diego is going to be a problem, except for the injury. Let's talk about that a little bit. Give us the rundown of your thoughts, the Padres, how they're looking, what's going to prohibit them from being as good as people originally thought, and anything else you could think of.
Well, the Padres, I mean, you mentioned the injury that Fernando Tatis, he injured his left shoulder. So it's the front shoulder. The one thing that the manager said is that when it comes to that injury, it's something that he's been able to manage. It's not something that needs surgery. So it's just something that kind of comes and goes, but he knows how to take care of it. And he obviously knows something, because the next game he came in, he had a home run in his first at bat. So I'm going to take 2 things into it. He's young, so he's just a pup, and he hasn't hit like his physical peak yet. So he's still healing very, very quickly and easily. And the fact that he knows what and knows how to take care of it, and now he's got these world-class trainers to help him manage the injury. So I think their lineup is as deep as. It's one of the deepest lineups in baseball. I think it's a sight to behold to see the players that they have coming up and down that lineup. They don't have the power throughout the lineup, but they definitely have hitters throughout that lineup that the Dodgers have. So it's great. Their bullpen is loaded. I mean, they've got 3 pitchers who've had closing experience. So, I mean, that's basically locking down the last 3 innings of the game. So they are just going to be, they're going to be tough anytime that it's the 6th inning and they've got any kind of, even a 1-run lead. They're going to be a team to be reckoned with. And you know what? The thing is, they are a team. Tatis is such a passionate player. He's such a showman that I think he's going to really feed off of having fans. And these fans, they've been looking for a guy to be their guy since Tony Gwynn. Adrian Gonzalez was close, but he got traded to the Red Sox. Tatis, he's got a 14-year contract. He ain't going anywhere. Manny Machado is in year 3 of a 10-year deal. He ain't going anywhere. So these guys are players that San Diego can wrap themselves around, and who have embraced the city and the fan base. I think they're a tough team, and you get to start a rotation with Yu Darvish and Blake Snell. And both of them, I mean, Snell, that game that he pitched in the World Series last year against the Dodgers was the best game I saw anybody throw last year. It is a crime that he got taken out of the game. It is an absolute crime that he got taken out of the game. And,
I was even scratching my head on that. Even though it benefited us, I was scratching my head as to, I didn't quite get it.
Mookie Betts was scratching his head, and he was the next hitter. He was the next hitter up. And he'd already struck out against him 2 times. So I think it's going to be a battle between these 2 teams all the way down. I would not be surprised if this went down till the end of the season for these 2 teams. I think I hope for health for both of them, especially on the pitching side, because I think then they'll be really good. Because I love great rivalries. The Diamondbacks are a good team. They have talent. Their best pitcher just suffered a hairline fracture a hairline fracture on his forearm, so he's going to be out for a period of time. That's an absolute that's horrible, and and it's all because he got injured practicing hitting. When everybody's been asking, the players, people have been asking for the universal DH. So
correct,
players
which I wanted
it. Yeah, I never thought I would, but you know what? I'm like, I don't want to see pitchers hit anymore. I don't need to see them.
I don't ask a quarterback to go tackle someone on defense either. So why not? I'm okay with. I love the specialized piece in football. I'm a quarterback. I'm a wide receiver. I'm a fill in the blank. it's okay that baseball is that way. Basketball is the only one that's, and soccer, I guess, in a way, because soccer, you can wind up doing all kinds of things if something goes awry.
Right.
It's okay if a pitcher never comes in and bats. And especially these guys are so specialized and so good compared to back in the day. You could be a phenomenal athlete with one thing that you do, and do very well. And I'm seeing that now. We'll segue back to what you're saying, because, for instance, my son's at that age. Oh, I'm having a blast with this. You and I were stat junkies when we were kids. And so now my son is in Little League right now. And it's so interesting because, and my daughter's in softball. And I love it because I've found again, it's coming back, the stat piece, in that I'm the scorekeeper for my son's team. And I'm scorekeeping on my phone though. They have this app called Game Changer. And every pitch, every movement, anything that happens on the field, I'm inputting into this app for this specific game. And at the end, everything from the pitches, the slides, the bases stolen, anything you could think of comes out on these incredibly in-depth spreadsheets. And it's no different than when you and I were kids and we would pull up the baseball cards and we would just study the back of the baseball cards against what the players are doing in the game on the sports page. And you go down every line item, and it's re-energized my passion for baseball. And we're going to talk a little bit about the fantasy element too, because I know with Familia FFB, you're the founder of that company, as we mentioned at the top here. And as we all should know this already about Jorge, but it's one of those things that I think baseball now, with the capturing, any fan could do this, by the way. You can actually download these apps and go through each game stat wise yourself, if you're interested. So I can do a Dodger game and I can keep, if I'm that much of a fan, I can actually keep the information, my own personal stat machine for each team or just the player that I follow. And that way you can follow them. And however, the fantasy elements that could come from this are the things that keep swimming in my head, because it's all about stats anyway. Who's doing what, where, how.
Oh yeah.
And so we'll get into that on another episode. We'll dive in deep on that because you're a fantasy king. So I'm looking at it from, now that we talked a little bit about the front runners, the Dodgers, the Giants, Arizona, little bad luck, unfortunately, but they still may be able to do something decent. Like I said, I'm not so worried about the Giants because, one, they've kicked our butt and I don't want to talk about them too much. And we're on a good run now. And for the AL, for the American League, we're looking at the three teams. Can you think of anyone else outside the three teams I named? The Yankees, the Rays, and the Astros that could potentially contend, and then we'll come back to the National League here in a second.
I would say the White Sox are gonna be a tough team in the middle, and in our backyard, the Angels. The Angels. I'm
pulling for the Angels.
Yeah. With Mike Trout still in his prime, he's still the best player in the game. He's good. And the one to watch out for is Shohei Ohtani. This is the first year that his elbow has been 100% healthy. And he's, and Mike Trout himself is saying that he is in a place, he being Ohtani, is in a place from a health, talent, experience where he could hit 30 home runs and win 10 games as a pitcher, which is unheard of. We're talking like Babe Ruth days, that the last time that somebody was able to do that. I think that's just utterly incredible to think about that. And I think he could be the X factor to take them to a different level, because that's got amazing. Trout, you got Rendon, who are two of the best hitters in the Major League Baseball. So I think they're gonna be anchors for that lineup, and Ohtani is gonna be an incredible hitter himself. So I think they're definitely a team to watch out for.
So we have 4. So launching this season, we're going to keep tabs. You guys should keep tabs on those 4 teams in the American League. You're looking at the Yankees, who are always there, the Rays, just because they're going to be fun with those young cats. Houston, for so many different storylines, because part of it is the hate from what you're saying that people are going to experience. I even think that not just Dodger fans, I think when they go to other places, baseball fans are probably the purest of all the 3 major sports in the country. And I think that as far as they want to keep things so much like the way it used to be. And I understand that element because I'm when I think about baseball, I'm somewhat like that also. But I've expanded my mind a lot, so much more as far as baseball is concerned and some of the new things that they should do. And on that note, well, we'll come back to the new stuff in a second, but because the American League, we're talking about those 4 teams to keep an eye out for you guys. On the National League side, it seems like it's only primarily the Dodgers. I think universally people think the Dodgers and the Padres, pretty much. So Dodgers, you have those 6 teams to watch.
Well, there are a couple more. There are a couple more I want to point out nationally. The Braves. The Braves took the Dodgers to the brink last year, and yes. I mean they just needed one more game, and they're in the World Series, and maybe they're the champs right now. Mm-hmm. They've got great young pitching, and so they've got Ronald Acuna, who's one of the young rising stars, who's on a par with Fernando Tatis and Juan Soto. You get them. Don't sleep on the Mets. They have incredible pitching. And they added Francisco Lindor, who, for my money, is one of the 5 best players in baseball, and he's a shortstop, which changes the game. I mean, he is a genius with the bat, and he's a genius with the glove. He's one of those passion players. And Jacob deGrom may be the best pitcher in baseball right now. So you got him leading your staff. The Nationals, I think a lot of people are sleeping on them. I think they're just 2 years removed from winning the World Series, and they still got Max Scherzer, they still have Juan Soto, they still have Steven Strasburg, and so I think those teams are ready. The Phillies will see, and
Harper,
the Cardinals.
Right? They have Harper,
the Phillies.
Don't they?
The Phillies have Harper, so they're Bryce Harper, so he's going to have himself a great season. So we're going to see what he brings, and the Cardinals, I think, are far and away the favorite in the Central.
Yeah, you can't write the Cardinals out ever. So it seems
they always seem to grab get a player coming out of their minor leagues, and they added Nolan Arenado, who he's won the Gold Glove 8 years in a row. I mean, we're talking about an all-time great with the glove,
right?
And the guy's going to hit 30 home runs and knock in 100 RBI. So he's
Midwest team does not get enough pub.
No, I don't think, and they've got just enough pitching that they could be dangerous. And one of the guys we'll talk about a little bit later, another Valley guy who is leading their staff, Jack Flaherty.
What high school out here?
Harvard Westlake.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Harvard Westlake. It was him, Max Fried from the Braves, another one of their top young pitchers, and Lucas Giolito from the White Sox. So all 3 of them are aces of their team. All 3 of them were on Harvard Westlake team at the same time.
Wow.
Giolito and Fried were seniors, and I believe Flaherty was a sophomore, and he was the 3rd baseman on the team. and there's a story that the scout, a group of scouts were going to see we're going to see Fried and Giolito pitch in a couple games, and somebody pointed out, so one of the scouts said to the other, he goes, I don't know why they got this guy pitching. Probably the best pitcher of all of them is the 3rd baseman.
The 3rd baseman, right?
Talking about Flaherty. So
we're coming up. The Valley was pushing out a lot of baseball guys back in the day, from McDowell, from Notre Dame High School, and even the old school. Was it either Goodrich or not Goodrich? It was it Drysdale?
Drysdale, Van Nuys High.
Van Nuys High. So even as far back as Drysdale, and just think about the 3 guys you just named from the Valley, and then you have Stanton, and then you have the kid from Westlake High School that plays with the Brewers,
Christian Yelich.
Yelich,
MVP a couple years ago.
And then there was a kid from Notre Dame High School probably 3-4 years ago that was the best player in the country at the time. I'm trying to remember. He was
Hunter Green.
Where's he?
He's with the Reds. He's in their minor league system.
Okay, so he'll be there soon enough.
Yeah,
he's a talented kid.
Oh, he's a 2-way player. I mean, he could have been drafted as one of the top picks in the country as either a shortstop or a pitcher. He chose pitching, and he had Tommy John surgery, so that knocked him out for about a year and a half. So he's just now getting back into competition. So, but again, another phenomenal athlete. Trevor Bauer, kind of he's from the Santa Clarita Valley, out at Hart High School.
High School. Okay.
So we're still a talent hotbed out here.
Well, we're going to try to do this at least every couple of weeks to begin the season, because I feel that we're rushing things and we're just scratching the surface on all this. Because think about what we just discussed. American League, some of the teams, all the information Jorge was able to give us just then, as far as the Yankees, the Rays, the Houston Astros, the White Sox, and as far as the American League is concerned. And on the National League side, of course, the Dodgers, the Padres, dealing with Arizona, dealing with St. Louis and the Mets and Atlanta. That's a lot. Baseball is going to be fun this year. It's going to be a blast. And as the progression comes, let's talk real quick about, now that we have the excellence, the high level of play from the 7 or 8 teams I just named, that's going to take place. And not to mention, because every team is full of MLB best in the world type athletes to begin with in their sport. So anything could happen or progress throughout the season that you just never know. We're just talking about the favorites at this time, the known entities. We have the CBA coming up in December regarding MLB baseball. That's number one. We also have some contractual things that I'd love to discuss at a deeper level. Don't know if we'll get to it today, but we'll do it very soon. And that can have an adverse effect one way or another. An adverse effect on some of these players and some of the young players coming up. And I also want to talk a little bit about some of the branding and marketing things that MLB is choosing to do to try to open their game up to a new level of fan this year, such as in the All-Star game. Let's touch on that before we wrap. MLB has decided to put their draft during the All-Star week. And it's going to be a heavy component during their All-Star week. And I actually think it's kind of cool, because there's no one I know that ever talks about MLB's draft. We all know football is the number one draft. It's an event, leading up to the draft after the draft in the NFL is fantastic. The NBA draft has some cool stuff to it too. NBA is a whole different branding thing worldwide. MLB doesn't catch that much. I love the fact that MLB is trying to do something different. Can you touch a little bit about that on that subject and what you think about it? And is it going to be an improvement? Do you think it's going to be a little bit of a heavy weight? What are your thoughts on MLB moving their draft to their All-Star week?
I think it's phenomenal. It's a great idea that is long overdue. They always had the draft in June, essentially because they wanted it to coincide with players finishing either their high school or their college seasons, so that they could actually progress into the minor leagues and start getting on with their careers. But it always felt like it got lost. It always felt like it was rushed, and you never really, college baseball does not get the eyeballs like college basketball or college football do. They just don't. So the players aren't as recognized. So it's almost like they snuck in. And the other part about it is they don't go to the major leagues like they do in the NBA and the NFL. They go to the minor leagues, and if it's a high school player, they may be forgotten about for about 2-3 years. And then all of a sudden here they are, and it's like, oh, they're ready. So I think it's great. Think about the middle of July. The only time in all of the calendar year that there is no game going on, no professional sports game going on for any period of time, is the All-Star break. The day before and the 2 days after the All-Star break. You could do the draft during that time. And then all of a sudden you got all the eyeballs, you got MLB Network, ESPN, they could just train all their cameras on those guys. And then all of a sudden they can get those players signed into the major leagues, into the minor league system right away. It's about a month difference than before, but I just don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's nothing but a great idea to do it at that time.
I agree completely. So I think it's a good idea. I think that anything that MLB can do to broaden the base, bring back fans that were not just diehards like you and I from back in the day, but the general public. I think this is a good time to do it. They have these stars, all the guys you named earlier in the conversation from San Diego, some of these young spirited guys on the field. They don't have to do outrageous things. I loved it when I'm looking right at his face. The Dodgers had this kid from Cuba for a few years, and then we moved him on to the Reds. And
Puig.
I loved Puig. He was entertaining to me. It was fun. He made the game very fun. I think Tatis and some of these guys that are coming up, if they can take a page out of that, you don't have to be so stoic. You don't have to be too outlandish, but just it's fun. It's sports. It's entertainment. I think if they bring some of that to the table every single day, I think more fans, along with the wagering opportunities, with the stats, all that stuff, I think it's going to open up a new chapter. It could potentially open up a new chapter for MLB. And that's what I'm hoping. I think the health of our sports leagues can help lead the way to opening up mindsets and other things in the economy, the world, all this other thing. So I'm pushing for them. And I want the tech to be involved. That's why I brought up the stat keeping earlier. I think you're more engaged as a fan when you follow someone in that regard. It's not just your home team. Of course, I want my Dodgers to win. Of course, I want my Dodgers to win. But, first and foremost. But I'm also pulling for the league itself. I want the Yankees to do well because they're a big draw. They bring people to the game. Love or hate. It's like the Dallas Cowboys. You may not like them. People have a problem with Jerry Jones, but at the same time, Dallas carries everybody's water. They just do worldwide. They are the brand. It's a little arrogant, right? That America's team came from them decades ago. And everybody's, it's America's team. I'm like, they call themselves America's team, and I like the Cowboys, but come on, dude, really? Come on. But it's going to be fun. So I think that over the next couple of months, we'll do a check-in in the next couple of weeks.
Sure.
And there's a lot I want to go over as far as dive deep into some of the contractual stuff we had mentioned. Over half the stuff I had on the list of wanting to discuss with you today, I knew that once we got started on a topic, it was going to veer off to one way or another. And instead of breaking this up, we'll just continue to bring great episodes with Jorge, because there's a lot going on with MLB over the next year that we'd love to support. And there's no guy better than to bring on to talk about any and all things MLB. And in the meantime, always keep your eye out for Familia FFB. Give us a little plug on Familia, what you guys are doing in the off season leading up to the draft. And now with the craziness of the free agency piece in the NFL on its way. What's going on with you guys at Familia FFB before we wrap up?
Well, we're doing stuff on we're doing a series on the draft. So in fact, the episode just dropped today where we broke down about about 8 quarterbacks that are going to be drafted at the end of April. Mm-hmm. And their possibilities for their outlook first from the NFL side and also from fantasy. So we'll be doing that with running backs and receivers in upcoming weeks. And we're just kind of breaking down what, we're still doing weekly episodes, and I'm doing weekly chats with people in the fantasy industry, just kind of talking about, kind of where they came from and how they've kind of grown and how they've kind of grown their following, kind of hoping that we can kind of, as you love to say, rising tide lifts all boats.
Absolutely.
So I think, so we're going to do a lot of that. Once the draft is over, then we're really pointing to the next season. So, because then we'll know where these hot rookies are going to be. And I'm pumped. I mean, it's the first, we started in May of last year. So this is the first time we're keeping it going year round. And so we'll be going once a week with my cousins. And then I'll be doing at least one other interview with somebody during the week. And then once we get closer to the season, probably like late July, early August, we'll add a second show, and we're just going to be pounding on stuff at that point. And obviously we have content on our FamiliaFFB.com website. Nice. So a lot of fun. Please follow me at Jorge Martín 17. So we'll on
put
Twitter.
That on the screen for sure. Say it again, Jorge Martín 17.
Yep. No spaces. So yeah, I'll be doing a little, I'll be pushing out our content there and throwing out some fun little anecdotes on football and baseball. So, you never know, there might be, you might see a Dodger story crop up here and there. So
just may come up. Just
keep it's just some of the things. So, but
keep them honest, man. So listen, you guys, jump into Familia FFB. In addition to that, grab friends, family, people who live in other states. It's springtime. I don't care if it's your kid's little league game. I don't care if it's high school. I don't care if it's college. Grab a groups of friends. Do half seasons if you want. We just discussed MLB's All-Star game around July. We have the Olympics coming up. It's a natural break. Form a group where you guys can have some friendly competition just for the first half of baseball. Basketball is going to be wrapping up right around there. There's so much that you can do to start to create groups. Bring friends that you haven't talked to in a while that are been locked in because of COVID. Whatever it takes, sports can give you an incredible opportunity to create all these moments, these memories. Inside, outside, you can do whatever you want to do with the electronics. Make it happen. But let's keep it moving. I think this year is going to be exciting sports-wise, not just because my LA teams are dominating, but because there's a lot going on. And we'll definitely do this with Jorge again in the next couple of weeks, because I think what's happening in baseball is going to be incredibly interesting. Appreciate you taking the time with us again, Jorge, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Hermano, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy.
Right,
Keep following the bunker.
Absolutely. Thank you.